when my best friend Lizzie and I were 18. We went on our first vacation alone together to London. We were staying at the London Marriott Hotel. The first thing we did upon arrival was, of course, to get there and drop off all our luggage. We'd be there for a whole week, so we had to set our itinerary. It was late in the day already, so we didn't have much time that day, but did want to see something at least. So we went to see Big Ben, which is that iconic big clock tower that everyone knows in pictures when you think of London City. After that, we went to a nearby tavern for dinner called St. Stephen's Tavern. It was money, but good thing our dads were paying for this trip. After leaving the tavern, it was like 9 o'clock and we were wanting to go out and experience the nightlife. We agreed we'd first have to go back to the hotel and shower and change first. As we were walking, a young attractive man overheard us talking about the nearby bars we were looking at on our phones, and he stopped us. Something about him immediately was just charming. That grabs both my and Lizzie's attention, and if it weren't for that, maybe we wouldn't have been so receptive to him telling us about a big apartment party that one of his rich friends was throwing that night, and that two attractive ladies like ourselves would fit right in. Lizzie and I looked at each other and left. We said we'd be down and he said, "Gray, the party doesn't start till 11. He asked for my number, so I gave it to him. Then he said he'd text me the details and see us later, and down the street he walked. Lizzie and I were super excited. It was only the first night and we were already invited to a crazy London party. We figured if we played our cards right with the wealthy people at this apartment party, we would have people to hang out with the rest of the trip. We got back to the hotel, showered and changed, and we pretty game with a little vodka first to loosen ourselves up. Think we drank more than we should have, though. I texted the guy we met realizing we didn't even get his name. He texted back quickly with the address to the apartment, so we loudly marched into the street to wait for our Uber. It was a 15-minute overdrive to get to the apartment, and when we got there we couldn't believe how different the architecture of this apartment building was compared to something back home in America. I pressed the code for the apartment and we were quickly buzzed in. We took the elevator to the 5th floor. We were excited but nervous, not knowing what to expect. The alcohol was definitely helping though. I knocked on the door to the apartment, but we didn't hear music inside, which was odd. You were nervous. We had the wrong apartment until the young man from earlier opened the door. He hugged us hello and welcomed us into this dead quiet apartment. He shut the door and we asked, "Where is everyone?" He said, "Oh, it's still early. Don't worry." We looked around the apartment, and it was not at all as big as we were expecting for an apparent rich guy. We asked where his friend who owned the apartment was. The man said he was getting things ready in his room. He told us to sit and make ourselves comfortable. I remember looking at my phone and seeing it was like 11:30. Lizzie and I sat down and I could tell by her face she was put off by this as I was. The man sat down on the same couch as us next to me. He was uncomfortably close. Suddenly, another man came out from another room. He didn't say anything. He didn't smile. He just looked at us as he walked towards the door to the apartment. Then he just stood there. The man on the couch with us started asking us questions like where we were from, and if there's just us two visiting here. I started feeling sick to my stomach. The man next to us got up and went to the kitchen and get us some drinks. The man by the door stood there. Lizzie was to the left of me, so she was more hidden from view. I whispered in her ear to dial 911. She did so, and I noticed her tapping on the phone multiple times, indicating to the call taker that we needed help. Lizzie then suddenly called out loudly to the man in the kitchen, "This is apt 5 degrees Celsius, right?" The man at the door said yes in a deep, unfriendly voice. I whispered to Lizzie again that we needed to stall and not to drink any drinks the man gave us. As I was whispering to Lizzie, the man standing at the door called to the man in the kitchen to hurry up with the drinks. And then he came back from the kitchen with the drinks. I had to think on my feet, to stall as long as possible before drinking. Whatever, he just sat in front of us. I put on a fake and bubbly persona and said we should play Would You Rather. I know it sounds juvenile, but I had to think of a game that didn't involve drinking. The man seemed to play along with it. So me and Lizzie started coming up with Would You Rather questions, and he started coming up with some of his own. But he would often suggest we take a sip of our drinks, saying the guest would be there soon and that we needed to loosen up some more. I stalled for as long as I could, saying we already drink a lot, but we'd be down to drink more in a little bit. Remember when things were about to turn really as the two men looked at each other. Then the bigger, scarier man at the door, it came over and said, "All right, drink your drinks." He was about to reach for one of the glasses to probably force in my face when there was an aggressive banging at the door, followed by a man shouting, "Police." The younger man looked at us and asked, "Did you call the police?" I said no. Why and when would we? But my voice cracked as I said this, indicating I was nervous. Lizzie apparently just decided to hell with my story and screamed help. The police started to attempt to kick the door down, but the bigger man screamed, all right," and opened the door with his hands up. The two men tried playing innocent Lizzie, and I had to fabricate this story a little bit, saying the two men basically forced us into the apartment and wouldn't let us leave. Now we were pretty sure they drugged our drinks. That was enough to get them interested. A second police car arrived to escort us to the station for further questioning. The drinks were tested and it turned out, to no surprise, they were roofied. This was definitely a scarring experience, but we didn't let it ruin our trip to London. In fact, we never told our parents until years later, just because it would probably make them less likely to let us travel anymore. The alcohol definitely didn't help our initial decision-making in the night, but our advice would probably be don't ever trust strangers, no matter what they look like.